The rain fell in thick sheets over Detroit, bouncing off the cracked sidewalks and washing the neon glow of streetlights into puddles that mirrored the night sky. Little Emma clutched her worn-out stuffed bunny to her chest as she darted through the alley, her tiny boots slipping on wet concrete. The city had never felt so cold, so loud, and so terrifying all at once. Behind her, muffled sounds of struggle echoed, shouts, the harsh scrape of metal, and then a sharp, terrified cry. Emma's mother. "Mom," she called, her voice barely audible over the pounding rain. Her heart raced faster than her legs could carry her. Tears mingled with raindrops on her cheeks, burning like fire as she stumbled past overflowing trash cans and abandoned shopping carts. Her chest ached, but fear lent her a strange, almost superhuman strength. She had to find her mom. She had to protect her. Then she heard it, a low, guttural growl that made her stop dead in her tracks. Out of the shadows, a massive German shepherd emerged, its fur slick with rain and eyes sharp as lightning. Emma froze, unsure whether this was a threat or something else. But the dog didn't attack. Instead, it lowered its body, sniffed the ground near her feet, and then, without warning, scooped her up gently into its strong jaws. Emma gasped, clutching the dog's neck as adrenaline surged through her small body. What are you doing?" she whispered, trembling. The dog didn't answer, of course, but its eyes, dark, intelligent, and unyielding, seemed to say, "Trust me." Emma had no idea where it was taking her, but instinct told her to hold on. Her tiny arms wrapped tightly around the dog's neck as it bounded down the alley with astonishing speed. Emma's heart pounded in rhythm with its powerful strides. The sounds behind them, shouts, crashes, and her mother's muffled cries, grew fainter with each step. Emma pressed her face into the dog's fur and whispered, "They hurt my mom." The dog's ears flicked, almost as if it understood every word, and it accelerated, dodging puddles and debris with uncanny precision. The city blurred past them, neon signs reflecting off rain-slicked streets, steam curling from manhole covers, and shadows of strangers staring in disbelief as the child clung to the dog. Emma's mind raced. How did this dog know where to go? Why did it come for her? Questions piled up, but fear and urgency drowned out any attempt at reason. After what felt like an eternity of running, the dog slowed abruptly, stopping at the gates of an imposing building tucked away at the end of a narrow street. Emma blinked through the rain. It was a clubhouse, a dark, intimidating structure surrounded by motorcycles gleaming even in the dim light. Men in leather jackets leaned against the bikes, faces obscured by rain and shadow. Their laughter and music throbbed like a heartbeat in the building, harsh and alive. Emma's chest tightened. This place could be dangerous, but somehow she felt an odd sense of hope. The dog gently lowered her to the ground and growled, a low, warning rumble that reverberated through the night. Emma's small hands trembled as she wiped rain from her eyes, peering up at the massive animal that had just rescued her. Its eyes never left the figures approaching the gates, unwavering in its protective stance. Emma whispered again, "They hurt my mom." At that moment, everything froze. The bikers halted mid-step, their laughter dying in their throats. One of them, a tall man with a scar slashing across his cheek, leaned forward, eyes narrowing. Something in Emma's voice, something in the dog's posture made him pause. Around him, others looked at each other, uncertainty creeping into their expressions. The rain beat down harder, masking the distant wail of sirens. Emma could feel her heart thudding in her chest, her tiny body trembling not from cold, but from the raw weight of the moment. Was this salvation? Or had she just run into a new kind of danger? The dog's growl deepened, and Emma pressed herself against its side, instinctively knowing it would protect her at any cost. And then she saw the first hint of recognition in the scarred man's eyes. A flicker of understanding, a spark that said this night was about to change everything, forever. Hook, the dog, had led her here for a reason. But what could a group of intimidating bikers possibly do for a frightened little girl? And would they even listen to her? Emma's small boots squelched against the wet pavement as she clutched the dog's damp fur. The rain had slowed to a mist, leaving the neon lights of the biker clubhouse shimmering on the puddles like a promise of something unknown. The dog didn't rush this time. It walked with careful precision, its ears twitching at every sound. The distant screech of tires, the drip of water from the corrugated roof, the faint hum of music from inside the clubhouse. Emma's eyes widened as they approached the massive steel gates. Beyond them, motorcycles gleamed in the dim light, their chrome curves slick with rain. Men leaned casually against the bikes, their leather jackets decorated with patches that told stories of a life Emma had only glimpsed in movies. They laughed, the sound rough and commanding, but when they saw her and the dog, the laughter stuttered into silence. The dog set her gently on the pavement, growling low in its throat. Emma's knees shook. She had never seen so many men in one place who looked so dangerous. Her heart hammered inside her chest, each beat a frantic drum of fear and hope. She clutched her bunny tighter, whispering, "They hurt my mom." The men froze. One of them, taller than the rest, with a deep scar across his cheek, stepped forward. He towered over Emma, his shadow stretching across the wet ground like a dark wall. His eyes, though hardened and wary, softened as they met hers. "Hey, hey, little one," he said, his voice rough but gentle. "What happened? Who hurt her?" Emma swallowed hard, tears welling in her eyes. They hurt my mom," she said, her voice trembling. The dog growled again, low and warning, standing rigid between Emma and the bikers. Emma didn't understand why the dog's loyalty was so fierce, but she felt a strange surge of safety. Somehow, this creature knew exactly what to do. The scarred man's eyes flicked to the dog, then back to Emma. His lips pressed into a thin line and he nodded toward the other bikers. "Back up," he said sharply. The men obeyed, stepping aside and creating space around the little girl and her canine companion. Emma's heart raced even faster. She had expected fear, perhaps anger, but not this quiet intensity that seemed to hum in the air. One biker, sitting on a glistening black motorcycle, leaned forward. "Kid, you came all the way out here alone." His voice carried both astonishment and a hint of concern. Emma nodded, clutching the dog tighter. I had to. They hurt my mom." Her words were small, fragile, yet filled with a raw urgency that pierced the night. The scarred man crouched to meet her gaze. "All right," he said slowly, his voice measured. "We're listening. But you've got to tell us everything. Who did this? Where did it happen?" Emma's mouth trembled, but she began to recount the night in fragments. The alley, the muffled cries, the shadowy men who had hurt her mother, and the moment the dog appeared like an angel in the rain. The bikers exchanged looks, some nodding, others frowning, their tough exteriors cracking just slightly under the weight of the story. The dog's growl never wavered, its body tense and ready, guarding Emma, as if sensing that the night's danger wasn't over. The scarred man finally stood, towering over the others. "She's telling the truth," he said quietly, almost to himself. "This kid, she isn't just lost. She came to the right place." He looked down at Emma. "Don't worry, kid. We're not gonna let anyone hurt your mom again." Emma blinked, disbelief and relief colliding in her chest. Somehow, she had gone from running through the rain, terrified and alone, to standing in front of strangers who promised protection. The dog nudged her gently, as if reassuring her that this place, strange and loud as it was, might just be the safest she had been in hours. But the night was far from over. As the bikers moved to gather their jackets and prepare for what lay ahead, a shadow shifted near the edge of the clubhouse. Someone, or something, was watching them. Emma felt a chill run down her spine. Even here, even with the dog at her side, the danger wasn't gone. Hook, someone was still out there, waiting, and Emma realized that the moment she thought she was safe, the real challenge was just beginning. The rain had eased into a misty drizzle, but the night felt heavier than ever as Emma clung to the dog, her small arms tight around its neck. The bikers, once looming shadows of intimidation, now seemed different. Their leather jackets, their tattoos, their gruff voices, they all carried a weight of danger, yes, but also of experience, loyalty, and perhaps compassion. Emma couldn't understand why, but for the first time that night, she felt a tiny spark of hope. The scarred man stepped closer, kneeling to reach eye level with the trembling girl. His presence was imposing, yet there was something in the softness of his gaze that made Emma release a fraction of her tension. "Hey there, little one," he said slowly. "I'm gonna need you to tell me exactly what happened. Can you do that?" Emma nodded, clutching her bunny tightly. They hurt my mom," she whispered. Her voice broke on the last word, but her eyes were fierce, pleading. The dog growled lowly, its body coiled like a spring, as if warning anyone who might question her truth. Another biker, younger, with a rough stubble and arms covered in tattoos, approached cautiously. "Kid, we need details. Who did this? Where?" His voice was softer than Emma expected, tinged with genuine concern. Emma's tiny hands shook, but she began to describe the night. The dark alley, the shadows moving like predators, her mother's muffled screams, the fear that had almost frozen her in place, and then the miracle of the dog that had appeared out of nowhere. The bikers exchanged glances, a silent conversation passing between them. Some nodded, understanding the danger. Others' eyes darkened, a spark of anger lighting behind their tough exteriors. The scarred man's jaw tightened. He looked down at Emma and the dog. "You did the right thing," he said quietly. "Running was smart, and bringing the dog, well, that was luck or fate. Either way, it got you here." Emma blinked, unsure if she understood what he meant, but she felt the truth of his words in her chest. This dog had saved her, guided her, and now she was standing in a place where strangers were promising to help. Her hope felt fragile, yet powerful. The scarred man glanced at the rest of his crew. "Listen up," he barked. "We're not gonna wait for the cops. Not tonight. This kid's mom, she's in trouble and it's on us to fix it." The other bikers murmured, some nodding, some muttering under their breath, but the decision was clear. Emma's small story had ignited something in them, an unspoken code of justice that demanded action. The dog shifted at Emma's side, eyes scanning the darkness beyond the clubhouse, muscles tense and ready. Emma felt its warmth against her cheek, a silent promise of protection. She whispered, "Thank you," unsure if the dog could understand, but certain it had already done more for her than anyone ever could. The scarred man crouched closer. "All right, little one. I need you to stay calm, okay? We've got your back. We're gonna bring your mom home safe. But we need to know, can you tell us exactly where this happened?" Emma nodded, pointing shakily toward the alley she had fled. She remembered every detail, the overturned trash cans, the rusted fire escape, the street lamp flickering in the rain. The bikers leaned in, listening intently, absorbing every word. A tension rippled through the group as they realized what they were about to do. They were stepping into danger, real danger, and it wasn't just about protecting a stranger. This was about righting a wrong, defending someone who had no power of her own. Emma's small voice had lit a fire inside these men, and now they were ready to act. The scarred man placed a heavy hand on her shoulder. "Don't worry, kid. We're not letting anyone hurt your mom again. We'll bring her back safe and sound." Emma felt tears prickle her eyes, fear and relief battling inside her. The dog nudged her gently, and she hugged it, knowing it was her guardian, her anchor in a night that had felt endless. But even as hope began to bloom, a flicker of unease crept through her chest. Somewhere in the shadows beyond the misty street, someone was still out there. Someone who didn't want this reunion to happen. The bikers sensed it too, their postures stiffening as they prepared for the unknown. Hook, Emma had found allies, but danger was still lurking in the shadows, and the night was far from over. What waited for them in the alley could change everything. Inside the dimly lit clubhouse, the bikers formed a tight circle, their voices low and urgent over the rhythmic hum of rain against the roof. Emma sat on a worn leather couch, the dog curled protectively around her feet, its ears twitching at every whispered word. Her heart pounded in her chest as she tried to understand what these strangers were doing. They were not laughing now. They were serious, deadly serious. The scarred man, who had already earned Emma's quiet trust, paced in a small circle, his eyes scanning the faces of the men around him. "All right," he said, voice taut. "We know the apartment complex, we know the men who did this, and we know they're armed. Waiting for the cops might give them time to disappear, or worse. We move fast. We move smart. and we moved together. Another biker, his arms corded with muscle and covered in faded tattoos, leaned on a pool table frowning. "It's risky," he muttered. "If we get caught, it's on us." His voice was low, almost hesitant, but the scarred man's glare silenced him. Risk was irrelevant tonight. Justice and Emma's mother was the priority. Emma clutched her bunny, feeling a mix of awe and fear. She didn't fully understand the words they were saying, but she could feel the tension, the energy in the room. These were not ordinary strangers. They were warriors of a different kind, hardened by life, bound by an unspoken code. And somehow they had chosen her cause as their own. The scarred man crouched down to her level. "Emma," he said, his voice steady, "we're going to get your mom back. You need to stay here, okay? The dog, not leaving your side, and neither are we." The dog nudged her hand, and Emma whispered, "Thank you," feeling the courage swell inside her chest. This wasn't just protection. This was a promise. The bikers began assigning roles. Some would flank the apartment building, covering entrances. Others would create distractions if needed. A few, including the scarred man, would go inside, confront the attackers, and bring Emma's mother to safety. Every move was calculated. Every step was deliberate. Emma's stomach twisted with worry. Her mother was out there in danger. But seeing the focus in the biker's eyes gave her a strange, shaky hope. The dog stood and walked to the window, its nose pressed to the glass as if scanning the streets outside. Emma noticed how alert it was, muscles taut, tail low and ready. She realized then that this animal was not just a guardian, it was a guide, a partner in the plan that was forming so quickly, so naturally it almost seemed preordained. A biker with a deep, gravelly voice muttered, "We move in 10 minutes. Storm the building, secure her, and get out before anyone can react. No mistakes." The scarred man nodded, his eyes briefly meeting Emma's. "We don't fail," he added. The weight of his words hung heavy in the smoky air. Emma shivered, not from cold but from the gravity of the night. Outside, the rain had slowed to a mist, and the city's neon lights glimmered like distant stars. Emma pressed her face to the dog's side, imagining her mother somewhere in the darkness, scared and alone. But then she remembered the biker's words, their resolve, and she felt a spark of courage. Somehow, through fear, through rain, through uncertainty, hope had found a place inside her heart. The scarred man gave a final nod, signaling readiness. The dog growled softly, almost as if agreeing. Emma's pulse raced. She knew the bikers were heading into danger for her mother, risking everything. She clung to the dog, whispering, "Bring her back safe." The dog leaned against her, a silent oath. And as the group moved toward the door, the shadows outside shifted. A figure lingered in the mist, watching, waiting. Emma felt a chill run down her spine. The night had been long, the storm had been fierce, and the allies she had found were about to face the unknown. Somewhere in the darkness, the threat was still alive, and it was closer than anyone realized. Hook, Emma's rescue plan was set, but the real danger was just beginning, and the night held a final test that could change everything. The night air had a metallic tang as the bikers' engines roared to life, cutting through the mist like knives. Emma clutched the dog's fur, her knuckles white, as the rumble of motorcycles echoed through the empty streets. Every heartbeat seemed louder than the last. Somewhere up ahead, in a narrow alley near her apartment complex, her mother was still trapped, unaware that help was racing toward her in the form of leather, chrome, and sheer determination. The scarred man led the pack, his eyes hard, scanning every shadow. "Remember," he barked over the engine roar, "we're in and out. Quick, precise, no mistakes." The other bikers nodded, their faces set in grim determination. Emma squeezed her bunny tighter, whispering into its fur, "Please be okay, Mom." The dog shifted, muscles coiled, ears forward, ready to protect her at any cost. As they neared the alley, the bikers slowed, engines humming low. Emma's mother's muffled cries floated through the night, sending a shiver down Emma's spine. She leaned closer to the dog, feeling its steady warmth, its silent assurance that she was safe. The scarred man signaled for the others to spread out, each biker taking a vantage point to block escape routes. The shadows moved, figures darting from behind trash cans and dumpsters. The bikers' leather creaked as they shifted, positioning themselves with military precision. The scarred man stepped forward, his boots splashing in shallow puddles, his gaze locked on the men who had hurt Emma's mother. "You thought you could get away with it," he growled, his voice carrying the weight of 1,000 nights like this. "You were wrong." A moment of chaos erupted as the attackers realized they were cornered. One lunged toward the scarred man, but a biker slammed into him with a force that sent him sprawling into a dumpster. Emma's heart leapt in fear. Her mother was somewhere behind that chaos, and then she saw her. Her mother stumbled from the shadows, soaked and shivering, eyes wide with disbelief. "Emma!" she screamed, her voice raw with relief and fear. Emma ran, ignoring everything else, and threw herself into her mother's arms. Tears mixed with rain as they clung to each other, shaking from the terror and relief of the moment. The dog barked sharply, standing between Emma, her mother, and the remaining attackers. Its teeth bared, fur bristling, it moved with lethal precision, circling anyone who dared approach. Emma's mother looked down at the dog in awe. I can't believe this," she whispered, her voice trembling. How did?" The scarred man cut her off, voice commanding but calm. "Don't worry about that now. You're safe." Around them, the bikers continued to neutralize threats with controlled force, guiding Emma's mother behind them, ensuring no one got close. Emma felt a mix of fear and awe. These men, these strangers, were risking everything for her family. The dog nudged her forward, insisting she stay close, and she obeyed without question. A sudden noise, metal scraping against brick, made everyone freeze. One of the attackers had tried a last desperate escape. The dog lunged forward, ears back, growl reverberating through the alley. The biker nearest it moved with lightning speed, intercepting the fleeing man before he could reach the street. Emma's heart raced. Every second was a test of courage and survival. Finally, the chaos subsided. The attackers were incapacitated or fleeing, their threat neutralized. Emma's mother, trembling but safe, held her daughter tightly. "Thank you," she whispered to the bikers, tears streaming down her face. Emma leaned against the dog, her tiny body exhausted but buoyed by relief. The scarred man stepped forward, glancing at the mother and daughter, then at the dog. "She's brave," he said quietly. "But this little one she saved more than you know." Emma looked up at the dog, eyes wide, heart full. Somehow this creature had led her through terror, guided the bikers, and protected her mother. She buried her face in its wet fur. The rain continued to drizzle, but the city felt a little warmer now, a little less cruel. The immediate danger was over, but Emma sensed it deep in her chest. The night wasn't finished, and the real story had only just begun. The alley was quiet now, save for the soft drizzle and the hum of distant traffic. Emma's mother held her daughter tightly, rocking her slightly as tears streaked down both their faces. "Emma, you're safe," she whispered, her voice trembling with relief. Emma buried her face in her mother's soaked coat, her body shaking, not from rain, but from the adrenaline that had coursed through her for hours. For the first time, she dared to believe it. She and her mom were truly safe. The dog sat alert at their side, ears twitching, eyes scanning every shadow. Emma's mother glanced down at it in awe, a whisper escaping her lips. You saved her." Emma hugged the dog, fingers curling in its fur. "Thank you," she breathed. The dog nudged her gently, as if understanding every word, then circled protectively around them. Its loyalty was absolute, unwavering, and silent, yet it said more than any human ever could. The bikers gathered around, forming a protective perimeter. The scarred man knelt beside Emma's mother, placing a heavy hand on her shoulder. "You're safe now. No one's going to hurt you," he said. His voice carried authority and reassurance. The other bikers nodded in agreement, their eyes still scanning the surrounding shadows. Emma noticed the tension in their bodies, the readiness to react to any sudden movement. Danger was never far from them. Emma's mother hugged her daughter again, burying her face into Emma's hair. "How did this happen?" she murmured. "How did you get here? And who are these people?" Emma whispered the story of the dog, how it had appeared out of nowhere, guided her through the rain, and led her to this group of strangers who had become heroes overnight. Tears welled in her mother's eyes as she listened, each word punctuated by awe and disbelief. The scarred man finally stood, voice low but firm. "She's telling the truth," he said, glancing at the other bikers. "This dog, he knew where to go. He brought her here for a reason. We can't underestimate what we're dealing with." Another biker leaned against a motorcycle, arms crossed, eyes narrowed. "The men who hurt her mom, they won't stop. Someone's watching, waiting for the right moment." Emma's mother's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" she asked, panic creeping into her voice. The scarred man's gaze softened slightly. "Right now, you're safe, but danger doesn't disappear just because we showed up. We need to get you somewhere secure before anything else happens." The dog growled lowly, stepping closer to Emma, its body tense, sensing the unspoken threat. Emma hugged it tighter, feeling its warmth, its presence. It had led her here, and now it stood guard, unwilling to let any harm touch her family. For the first time, she understood the depth of its loyalty, an instinctive hero, silent but steadfast. Suddenly, a noise echoed from the far end of the alley, metal scraping against brick. Emma froze, heart racing. The bikers immediately tensed, positioning themselves between the noise and the mother-daughter pair. The scarred man motioned for the dog to move forward, and it bounded toward the sound, muscles coiled, teeth bared. Emma watched, holding her mother's hand, unable to look away. The dog was a force of nature, ready to defend, ready to fight. A figure appeared, a man hesitant, clearly caught off guard. The dog barked sharply, snarling, and the bikers advanced with deliberate steps. The man froze, realization dawning on him. He was too late. Emma's mother was safe, protected by a network of strangers and a dog whose courage outshone fear. The figure fled, stumbling through the mist, leaving only the echo of his desperation behind. Emma's mother exhaled, relief flooding through her. We made it," she whispered, holding Emma close. The dog returned, tail low but eyes alert, its silent vigilance a reminder that the night was not yet over. The scarred man placed a reassuring hand on Emma's shoulder. "You did well," he said gently. "Brave little one. And this dog, he saved more than just a life tonight. He saved hope." Emma hugged the dog again, burying her face in its fur. Tears streamed down her cheeks, not from fear this time, but from gratitude, awe, and relief. The immediate danger had passed, but as dawn approached, Emma sensed a lingering threat. Somewhere, someone was still out there, watching. The night had changed her life forever, but it wasn't finished. Something awaited them, and it would test their courage again. The misty rain had slowed to a fine drizzle, casting a silver haze over the alley. Emma's mother clung to her daughter, shaking, her body trembling from the ordeal. Emma leaned against the dog, who now sat quietly at her feet, ears alert but calm, its mission of protection momentarily complete. The bikers stood nearby, silent but watchful, the rough exterior of their leather and tattoos softened by the glow of triumph and relief. Emma's mother took a deep breath, finally letting the weight of fear lift slightly. I don't even know how to thank you," she said, tears streaking her rain-soaked face. Her eyes darted between the scarred man, the bikers, and the dog. "All of you strangers, you risked everything for us." The scarred man's eyes softened as he knelt to meet Emma's gaze. "Don't thank us," he said quietly. "You're safe now, that's all that matters. That little one right here," he gestured to Emma, "she led us to you. Her courage got us all involved. And this dog," he said, nodding toward the German shepherd, "well, he's not just a dog, he's a hero." Emma hugged the dog's neck tightly, burying her face in its wet fur. She whispered a small, shaky thank you into its coat. The dog nudged her gently, resting its massive head against her shoulder, as if acknowledging her words. Emma felt a warmth she hadn't known in hours, relief, safety, and a strange, comforting sense of belonging. The bikers exchanged quiet glances, a shared understanding passing silently between them. They had been strangers to Emma, but now, in the glow of relief, in the shared danger and triumph, a bond had formed that went beyond words. It was respect. It was honor. It was something they rarely showed outsiders, a quiet pride in doing the right thing when it mattered most. Emma's mother finally crouched beside her daughter, wrapping her arms around her tightly. "I can't believe it. I thought we were lost," she whispered. "I thought," her voice broke, and she buried her face in Emma's hair. Emma's hand went to the dog's fur again, feeling the steady strength beneath her fingertips. Somehow, this animal had bridged the gap between fear and safety, between despair and hope. The scarred man straightened, his gaze sweeping the quiet alley. "We should get you somewhere safe," he said. "You can't stay here tonight, and trust me, they won't give up that easily. This dog," he gestured toward the German shepherd, "led us to you and will follow wherever he takes us, but we can't take chances anymore." Emma nodded, feeling a surge of trust. She had survived the rain, the darkness, the danger, and now she was part of something bigger. The bikers, rough and imposing as they were, had become guardians, and the dog, her silent, steadfast protector, had led them all to safety. As they moved toward the motorcycles, Emma glanced back at the alley, her mind racing. The danger had been real, but so had the courage. The bikers had risked everything for strangers, and the dog, she felt a strange certainty that its loyalty was endless. It was more than a pet. It was a guide, a guardian, a hero that had changed the course of her life. Then a faint rustle caught her attention. The mist shifted, and somewhere beyond the dim glow of the streetlights, a shadow lingered, someone watching, someone waiting. Emma felt a chill run down her spine. The bikers tensed, eyes scanning the darkness, muscles coiled. Even in the warmth of reunion, the night was not yet done. The scarred man noticed Emma's gaze and gave a small, reassuring nod. "Don't worry. Tonight we protect. Tomorrow," he trailed off, leaving the words unsaid but heavy with meaning. Emma's mother squeezed her hand and she clung to the dog, understanding the truth instinctively. The danger might have passed for now, but the story wasn't over. As the bikers mounted their motorcycles, engines rumbling softly, Emma whispered into the dog's fur, "We're going to be okay, right?" The dog leaned into her, eyes calm and steady, and Emma felt the unshakable truth of its presence. Courage had come in an unlikely form, a group of strangers and one extraordinary dog, and together they had rewritten the night's fate. Hook, but as the first hints of dawn touched the city, a letter arrived at the clubhouse, one that would change everything they thought they knew about the dog, Emma, and the night they survived. Something unexpected, something heartbreaking, was about to unfold. The first rays of dawn were brushing the city with pale light when the bikers returned to the clubhouse. Engines idling softly, their jackets still damp from the night's rain, they moved like shadows through the quiet streets. Emma and her mother walked beside the German shepherd, who led the way with an unwavering, measured stride. The ordeal of the night had left them exhausted, but in the safety of the bikers' presence, hope and relief mingled with every breath. Inside the clubhouse, the scarred man motioned for Emma's mother to sit. "You're safe now," he said again, voice calm but heavy with unspoken thoughts. Emma perched on the dog's back, stroking its fur, while the other bikers tended to their gear. Everything felt surreal, the rain, the chase, the fear, and now this fragile peace. Then a small envelope, plain and unassuming, slid across the table from the far corner. No one spoke. Even the bikers, seasoned and stoic, paused, sensing the gravity of the moment. Emma's mother picked it up, her fingers trembling. The dog, sensing something unusual, lowered its head, ears flicking in subtle alert. Emma leaned close, heart pounding. With a shaky hand, her mother opened the envelope. Inside was a photograph and a folded note. The photo showed the German shepherd with a man, its former owner, looking tired but smiling faintly, a hand resting on the dog's broad back. Emma stared, wide-eyed. She knew the dog had been extraordinary, but she had never imagined this. The note read simply, "Thank you for keeping her safe. I never knew courage like this existed. He is more than a dog, he is my heart, and he has chosen wisely. Please take care of him." Emma's mother's hands shook as tears spilled down her cheeks. She hugged her daughter tightly, her voice breaking. "Emma, this dog, he wasn't just brave. He was waiting for you, for your mom. Someone trusted him with a life and he did not fail, not once. The scarred man placed a firm hand on the envelope, glancing at the photograph. This changes things, he said quietly. He's more than a protector. He's part of a story that's bigger than any of us realized. His voice held awe, and even the other bikers exchanged glances, a mixture of respect and wonder crossing their rugged faces. Emma hugged the dog tightly, burying her face into its fur. The realization struck her in waves. The dog had not just saved her that night. He had carried generations of loyalty, courage, and love in every stride, every decision, every growl. He had chosen her and her mother as his mission, and nothing, not fear, not danger, not the chaos of the night, had swayed him. The bikers, once strangers and now guardians, watched silently as mother and daughter embraced the dog. There was no applause, no cheering, only quiet respect. The dog, ever vigilant, nudged Emma gently, tail sweeping the floor. Its eyes, dark and steady, met hers, conveying a message she understood instinctively. You are safe. I will always protect you. Emma's mother looked up, tears shining in her eyes. I don't know how we'll ever repay all of you, she whispered. The scarred man shook his head. You don't repay courage. You honor it. And tonight we were lucky enough to witness it. Outside, the city began to stir, unaware of the night's drama. The rain had stopped completely, leaving streets that glimmered under early sunlight. Emma and her mother, guided by the German shepherd, stepped toward a future that felt both fragile and certain. The danger was gone, but the night had left an indelible mark on their hearts. Emma hugged the dog one last time before stepping back. She knew its loyalty would not fade. Somewhere its owner, its past, was waiting, but for now it had chosen her. And that choice had saved everything. Emotional closure hook. The dog's quiet heroism had not only rescued Emma and her mother, it had reminded everyone present that true courage and love often come in the smallest, most unexpected forms. Some heroes don't wear capes. Some come with fur, paws, and eyes that see the truth no one else can. That night, hearts were broken, lives were saved, and a bond was forged that would last forever.